You noticed it before you could name it. The replies that used to come in minutes are taking hours. The plans that used to get made a week out are suddenly, let's see how the week goes. Nothing dramatic happened. No fight, no bad date, nothing you can point to. And that's exactly what makes it worse. If she'd said something cruel, you'd at least have a reason. Instead, you have silence. And silence is the one thing the human brain is worst at interpreting correctly. Most men reach for the same explanation within about 10 minutes of noticing this. She's losing interest. Maybe someone else came along. Maybe you did something wrong and didn't realize it. And here's the uncomfortable part. Sometimes that explanation is right. But research on how people actually behave when they pull back from a partner tells a more complicated story. One where the same behavior, going quiet, creating distance, needing space, can mean almost opposite things depending on what's driving it. Confusing those two things is the single biggest reason men either panic when they shouldn't or stay calm when they should be paying attention. By the end of this, you'll know which one you're looking at, why the instinct to chase makes it worse almost every time, and what you can actually do about this situation.
Before we jump into conclusions, you can't judge this from a single slow reply or one quiet weekend. She took 6 hours to reply, so she must be losing interest. She canceled once, so she must be pulling away. But one event tells you almost nothing. There must be a pattern. Pay attention to what happens across several interactions. Does warmth still appear? Does she still make an effort when you actually spend time together? Does she eventually move toward you again without being pushed? Or is the connection becoming consistently colder, with less curiosity, less effort, and less desire to see you? Those patterns tell you far more than the number of hours between texts.
Here's the first thing almost nobody explains clearly. Pulling away is not one behavior. It's the visible symptom of at least two very different internal states, and they look nearly identical from the outside. The first is what attachment researchers call deactivation. When two people are getting close, usually somewhere in that window between the third date and the third month, right when things start to feel like they might become something, a part of the nervous system that's wired for self-protection can start treating closeness itself as the threat. Not you specifically, closeness, the vulnerability of actually being invested. Psychologists McCullough and Shaver, who've spent decades studying adult attachment, describe this as a set of deactivating strategies. Needing more alone time than usual, suddenly noticing your flaws more than your good qualities, replying slower, getting vaguer about the future. It's not a decision she's making about you. It's closer to a reflex, one usually rooted in earlier relationships where closeness got associated with losing independence or getting hurt. She may not even be fully aware she's doing it. The second thing that looks like pulling away is just losing interest, genuine disengagement. Someone who's actually done doesn't feel activated or conflicted about the distance. They're just quietly gone, and no amount of patience on your end is going to change that because there's nothing underneath it fighting to reconnect. If you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit like. And if you want to understand female psychology, improve your dating life, and become a better man in relationships, make sure to subscribe. Same behavior. Two completely different situations. And this is where most men make their first mistake. They treat both as the same problem and respond with the same move, reaching out more. That instinct is understandable. When something you're invested in goes quiet, the brain doesn't experience it as she needs some space. It experiences it as a threat to the bond, and it responds the way it responds to any threat, by escalating effort to close the gap. Researchers call this protest behavior, the double texts, the "hey, did I do something?" the overly casual check-in that isn't casual at all. It's a deeply human response. It's also, according to the research, close to the worst thing you can do in this exact moment.
Here's why. If what you're dealing with is deactivation, someone whose nervous system is treating closeness as a threat, then pursuit doesn't read as reassurance. It reads as more closeness, faster, which is precisely the thing the system is trying to create distance from. Studies on what researchers call the demand withdrawal pattern. One person's pursuit increases the other person's withdrawal, which increases the first person's anxiety, which increases the pursuit again. It's self-reinforcing in both directions, and it doesn't require anyone to be a bad person. It just requires two nervous systems responding exactly the way they're built to respond. So if you're the one initiating that chase, the extra texts, the questions about where things stand, the "we need to talk," you're not fixing the distance. In a lot of cases, you're the one manufacturing it. You're confirming on a level she may not even be consciously tracking. Which raises the obvious next question. If reaching out makes it worse, how do you know when it's actually over and you're just torturing yourself by waiting? This is the part that separates men who read this correctly from men who either give up too early or hang on too long. And it comes down to a distinction between the two situations. Someone who's deactivating is still, underneath the distance, oriented toward you. The pullback tends to be inconsistent. She goes quiet, then randomly sends something warm, then goes quiet again. She still remembers details from your conversations. When you do talk, there's still real engagement, even if the frequency dropped. It looks less like a door closing, and more like someone standing in a doorway they haven't decided whether to walk through. Genuine disengagement looks different, and it's usually less dramatic than people expect. The warmth doesn't come back in bursts, it just flattens out. Replies get short and generic. She stops asking questions back. Plans stop getting made, even loosely. There's no push-pull because there's nothing pulling. If you've been checking for weeks and the pattern is flat, not inconsistent, that's real information, and no amount of patience changes what it's telling you. So what do you actually do with this? Not vague advice, specific behavior. First, you stop matching her pace with anxiety. This doesn't mean going cold or playing games. It means you simply return to living the life you had before this became the center of your attention. Keep making plans that don't involve her. Keep your existing friendships and workouts and work priorities exactly where they were. This isn't a strategy to make her chase you. It's what someone with a stable sense of self naturally does, because his week was never actually built around waiting for a text.
Second, you send exactly one grounded message, not a chain of them. Something short, warm, low pressure, and with zero interrogation in it. No, where do we stand? No, did I do something? Something as simple as mentioning you'd enjoy seeing her again sometime. Sent once, and then you let it sit. The reason this works better than a paragraph explaining your feelings is that it gives her room to respond from genuine desire rather than obligation. A long emotional message demands a response. A short, warm one invites one. Third, and this is the one most men skip, you actually watch what happens after that message, instead of deciding in advance what it means. If she responds with real warmth and re-engages, that's the activation resolving itself, which is common and doesn't require you to have done anything except not chase. If she responds flatly or not at all, you have your answer. And continuing to reach out at that point isn't patience anymore. It's negotiating with someone who's already told you where things stand. None of this is a manipulation tactic, and it's not about becoming unavailable to seem more desirable. It's built on something simpler. A man who doesn't depend on one person texting him back feels more stable. He doesn't panic when she pulls away. He gives her space instead of chasing her, and that space can naturally bring her back. The interesting part is that self-respect and the right strategy often look exactly the same. Here's the thing worth remembering the next time this happens, because it will happen again, with her or with someone else. The instinct to chase comes from treating distance as an emergency. It rarely is one. Most of the time it's about her nervous system, about the pace of the relationship, sometimes just about a hard week at work that has nothing to do with you. Your job isn't to solve the distance. It's to stay steady enough that you can actually read what it means before you react to it. Everything else follows from that.